We're going to start with who were the Babylonians. This sounds kind of funny because we usually start, it's chapter 24 of 2Kings, but the first verse will have this, who were the Babylonians. So we're going to bring it in now. Babylon, the capital city of the reign known as Babylonia, was located in today's southern Iraq. The scriptures indicate that Babylon was founded by Nimrod shortly after the flood. Over the course of millennia, the Babylonia was inhabited and controlled by various people. Babylonia came under control of the Chaldeans, whose rise to power coincided with the decline of the Assyrian Empire. After the fall of Assyria, King Nebuchadnezzar II established Neo-Babylonian or Chaldean Empire in Babylonia. It was during his reign that the kingdom of Judah was conquered and much of Jerusalem was destroyed. Around 586 BC, the name Babylonian appears numerous times throughout the scriptures, often as a symbol of wickedness and worldly corruption. And what we have here now is that new Babylonian Empire. It's a little bit different than the one that was Assyria. For one thing, Assyria had conquered Egypt, but as you see here, Egypt has now regained their own power, and Babylon covers a different area than Assyria, but mostly where the Assyrians were. So they've taken over all this land. And so let's get into the reading. In the days of Nebuchadnezzar, which you should recognize as well, king of Babylon, came up, and Jehoiakim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. So Jehoiakim kind of said, well, I'll bow down to you. And then he says, I don't know if I like this after 3 years. And the Lord sent against him bands of the Chaldeans, and bands of the Syrians, and bands of the Moabites, and the bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word of the Lord which he spake by the servants of his prophets. It was told way back when they first came inland that these would be those people who would fight against Israel, and they have throughout all of the years, and now they're doing it under the banner of Babylon. Surely the commandment of the Lord Surely at the commandment of the Lord came this upon Judah, to remove them out of his sight, for the sins of Manasseh, according to all that he did. It seems Manasseh, son of Hezekiah, was really not a good guy. It keeps coming back to him. And also the innocent blood that he shed, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. This sounds like he's doing, we already know this, I guess, but doing human sacrifice. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Judah? So Jehoiakim slept with his fathers, and Jehoiakim, his son, reigned in his stead. And yes, the names are very close, but if you notice, I don't dwell on the names very much because, first of all, you get used to it after you've read it a few times, but also there's so many of them. I concentrated on the ones that were at the time, but Jehoiakim, his son, reigns in his stead, and the king of Egypt came not again any more out of his land. In other words, they kind of said, okay, we're not going to deal with this, you guys deal with it. For the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river of Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt. Jehoiakim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months, and his mother's name was Nutashta, the daughter of Elnath, Elnathan, of Jerusalem. Notice that they always give the mother's name. I think that's interesting. We don't usually hear any more about it, but they are mentioned. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, and according to all that his father had done. And at that time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. So he comes up, but his servants the ones that do it. It's below him to be the fighter in this, it seems. And Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, and he and his mother and his servants and his princes and his officers, and the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. So why were Judah's leaders the first to be exiled to Babylon? Jehoiakim, Josiah's grandson, had reigned in Judah for only 3 months when Nebuchadnezzar's attacked Jerusalem for the first time, eventually conquering it around 598 BC. Jehoiakim's surrender to the Babylonians suggests a pragmatic decision to save the city from destruction. The Babylons took many wealthy and educated, skilled people back to Babylon as captives to disable Judah from being able to wage war. The prophet Ezekiel was among these exiles. The Babylonians also took with them most of the king's riches and the temple's sacred precious items, which we'll read in a second. So you see how this works. Assyria did one thing where they would just take everybody out of a place and replace them with other people, but this is a little bit different strategy anyway. They would take the rich people out and those that had influence and take them out of the situation, so that kind of disable them that way. And he carried them thence, and all the treasures of the house of the Lord, and the treasures of the king's house, and cut to pieces all the vessels of gold, which Solomon the king had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. It just seems almost weird that there is all this gold from how many times it was looted and used to pay tribute and things like that. But there was still a lot in there, and obviously things from when Solomon was king. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes and the mighty men of valor, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smiths. None remained save the poorest sort of people of the land. And he carried away Jehoiakim to Babylon, and the king's mother and the king's wives and his officers, and the might of the land was, and the mighty of the land. Those carried he into captivity from Jerusalem. And all the men of might, even 7,000, and craftsmen and smiths 1,000, all that were strong and apt for war, even them the king of Babylon brought captivity to Babylon. The king of Babylon made Mattaniah, his father's brother, king in his stead, and changed his name to Zedekiah. And now we've probably heard of Zedekiah because that is in the Book of Mormon. Why did Nebuchadnezzar make Zedekiah king of Judah? After King Joachim was taken captive to Babylon, his uncle Mattaniah was made king of Judah by Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar changed Mattaniah's name, which means gift of Yahweh, gift of God, basically, to Zedekiah, meaning Yahweh is my justice, my righteousness. This was perhaps Nebuchadnezzar's way of implying that he was doing to Jerusalem what he was doing to Jerusalem was just. Regardless, Nebuchadnezzar's appointing a new king and renaming him demonstrated that the kingdom was under Babylonian control. Lehi, the first prophet of the Book of Mormon, lived at Jerusalem during the first year of Zedekiah's reign. The Lord warned Lehi to flee Jerusalem with his family before the city was destroyed. The Lord then led them to the promised land in the Western Hemisphere. And that's important. This just, all of a sudden, you just see the Book of Mormon just inserted right here. Okay, now they're going to leave. In fact, they leave just right after this, don't they? Luckily, they weren't princes at the time. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Hamul. See, there's the mother's name again. And the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And if I'm reading this right, she was the daughter of the prophet Jeremiah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that Joachim had done, his brother. For through the anger of the Lord, it came to pass that Jerusalem and Judah, until he had cast them out from his presence, that Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon. So now he rebels. And we're going to see what happens with that in the next chapter.